Welcome back to the Good Cheer Podcast with Ryan and Ice. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Ice.
All right.
All right.
So we went a little long on that last podcast.
Yep.
So we're going to break it down into two-parter, and we're going to pick up where we left off, which is, this is, you named this. So this is part two
this
of...
is Stitch and Bitch part 2.
All right, here we go.
Part 2 of Stitch and Bitch part 2.
And here we go. I lean more toward sing-song. And they can hear it, and they can anticipate the melody.
That's called a hook. Yeah. I mean, seriously, though, like,
right.
I think my favorite guitar players, all of them, like, that I've played with, not like other, but like you or Ben or whoever, like, or Peter, all of you guys have the ability to play a bunch of notes. But I like the fact that you all play from a melodic place.
Like I played in a band with it was with Higby and Mark, the guitar player, talented dude, really, really good at what he does. And it worked out really well because there was a very nice yin and yang thing going on but he also was capable of doing something similar, but he wasn't as quick off the cuff with like coming up with stuff. It was more like he had to work it up on the side type thing.
Yeah.
But he was really good at finger tapping. He's really good at like the 80s rock stuff.
Yeah.
And he always was like, man, I love how like you're stuck. Like when you play, you got these soaring notes and it's, but yeah, I always would like lean towards like, before I would, it's weird because I still do it today. If I'm working up like a particular solo or something, I'll be really listening to the song like as a whole. I'll really listen to it as a complete thing.
Yeah.
And I'll just be playing enough of my instrument to not be playing.
Right.
I'll play just enough to where I'm playing.
Yeah.
I'm not playing.
You can't say I'm not playing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it allows me to listen, like, and think and think about the lyric that's happening or has happened, or the melody that's being created, and then I will like think in my head or sing even like off microphone, of course, and whatever, and I'll be singing a thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, and then that's where I go. I go to that thing on the guitar, da, 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 and it's very, very much a picked melody.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I was working with Billy, and I was kind of helping him understand that approach because it is that it's a different approach. Instead of playing what you know, my thing is don't play what you know, play what you can sing. Play that.
Yeah, don't just rely on like muscle memory or this scale or whatever is this pattern.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So a lot of time, like the plateau we were talking about on previous podcast, you get stuck in that because of the muscle memory and because of the repetition and because you're rehearsing these things to make them better and easier for you to do so you can pull them off.
Yeah.
And land things live or whenever you need to, right?
Right. You know what I call that? I call that like the headroom concept.
Okay.
Like a car, like I mean, any car, but like my car speedometer goes up to like 120 or 130, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever drive at 120 miles an hour. I drive at like 70, right? But because the car is able to go that fast, if it had to, when it's driving at 70, it's really not working that hard. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
So like you should always practice to be able to do more than what is required of you in like a normal musical setting, because it's just going to make that other stuff easier and sound and feel better. Like if all your gig requires of you is like that kind of thing all night. If that is like the hardest thing you can do, you're not going to be like very good at that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh gosh, I can't do anything more than like you're going to be at 100% CPU usage the whole night just to do that. But if you can do a whole bunch of other stuff where you can fire all these micro muscles and all, like, I'm speaking from a drummer, but it works for any instrument. Like you can do all this, like, control the stick with these fingers, and you can think and hear all these different subdivisions. Like, it's not just physical, it's also mental and like being able to hear things. If you can play way beyond then playing that will be it'll be autopilot, but in a good way, because you know that like you're at 40%, you know? So if you have to kick it up to 60, you can really wow them with something.
That's
and
true.
you're still not even at 100%.
Right.
You've got so much room to go. And I hate people that that will just say things like, well, what's the point of learning that? Like, I'm never going to do that on a gig. It's like, yeah, that's not the point. Like, I can, out of like the 40 rudiments for a drummer, like I use like 5 of them on a regular basis, but the other 35 of them all teach you things, whether it be musical or muscle related. Like there's all these little nuances in like playing these sequence of notes and sticking patterns of like how to control the stick and the rebound, and like just making sure that your dynamics are good between your accents and your taps and all those like little like your quick twitch muscle fibers and things. When that stuff is really dialed in, it gives you confidence that like, you know, the quote unquote easy stuff. Like if I'm just going to play AC/DC songs all night, man, I'm going to have fun doing it because I'm not going to be thinking about, oh man, how do I play this? And this is really like, right. Because the things I do in my practice room are way beyond that. It's not, practicing shouldn't always be about just whatever's required on your gig. Because if all I ever did was practice the same 20 David Nail songs over again, I might be really good at those songs, but I'd be a shitty ass drummer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yep. Like what would I do if I was put into a situation where I had to like come up with a part, to like develop a part on my own? Well, I don't know. This isn't a song I know. I only know these 20 songs. Or if I had to play some weird pattern on the hi-hat or the ride cymbal, well, I've never done that because it's not in these 20 songs. Like that kind of shit pisses me off sometimes. And I know I've said before on here that I'm not a good practicer, and I'm not. But when I do practice, like I like to work on things that I can't do and things that may not necessarily have an obvious benefit. But in the long run, anything you can do to make yourself a better drummer makes you a better drummer. Yeah. Or a better musician, you know, like.
No, you're right, man. It's interesting how you said, practicing for the gig and strictly for the gig. I think you know what? I never thought of that particular thing because I always overextend. Like that's just, if I'm working on songs for someone, I'm obviously learning the song. I'm learning the flow, the sections, and the idea of what the song and the essence of the song. But then I will try something rather difficult, and it may not have anything to do with that song in particular, but it's just something where I want to be able to pull this thing off just because I should be able to. If another human can do it, then I should be able to do it. Yeah. 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 But that's interesting because I think a lot of guys actually do that. They just practice for the song. And that would make sense why they are not great at improvising.
Yeah, and it's just but it also is just a thing of like, you know, you can hear somebody play. You can hear 2 drummers play the same song, but if drummer A is working so hard and drummer B is like, oh, this is easy, Not in a sense of like, this is easy because it's stupid, but this is easy so I can focus on the things about it that are important, like making it feel good and my internal dynamics and everything. Like, who do you think you're going to want to listen to more? You know, if drummer A is like playing real stiff and like his hi-hat is like chunky and like the dynamics between his hi-hat, kick drum, and snare drum are all the same. They're just kind of coming at you and it's like painful and it's like, but if drummer 2 is playing the same thing, but like he's placing his backbeat maybe a little behind and he's really digging into the kick drum and he's like, he feathers the hi-hat on some notes and it gives it this like lope. That's way more pleasing to listen to.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm just thinking, like, when I go down on Broadway sometimes, there are drummers, like, you can hear a drummer playing, what's a stupid ass song? Fishing in the Dark. You can hear a drummer play Fishing in the Dark, and you can make a judgment on how, like, if this drummer's actually good or not, on how they play a song like that.
Yeah.
Not
a simple song. Like,
yeah. And I mean, there have definitely been nights where I've played it like a moron because, like, if you're on your third shift of a triple and you've already played this song 2 other times and you're just having fun at 1 o'clock in the morning, then yeah. But like in general, like if a drummer's really like digging into that, I mean, it's just a simple 4 on the floor groove and you're really digging and you're owning every note and you're making every note mean something versus someone who's like just struggling to like, oh my God, I hope this song doesn't fall apart.
Right.
You know,
that's
like,
true.
And I don't even mean like, oh, I can tell that drummer's better. He's got more chops, but just, I can tell that drummer's better, like musically, you know, they are inside the tune, no matter if it's a stupid fucking Morgan Wallen song or something that I just fucking hate that I don't care about. Like you can still tell like that drummer is listening to everybody else. He's making adjustments on the fly to make sure that the groove keeps percolating and like, you know, it's like instead of someone who's just like, I'm going to turn my click on and go like this and I hope everyone else is listening to me, you know, like, I mean, sometimes there's gigs you got to do that, but
sure. But put your head down and keep going forward.
Yeah.
That was something I was expressing to Bill as well, as you know, it's not just about playing the song. It's about playing the song because let's face it, man, most of all the musicians that are in this area, at least, are very hip or very into like the record kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but I'm just not that guy. I'm not that guitar player. And my thing is, yes, understand the song. Like, get the song. Like, it's that whole deal, kind of what you were saying about the practicing thing. Like, don't just hear the song. And then memorize things.
Yeah.
You know, hear the song, listen to the song, understand what the artist and the producer and the other guys that cut it meant to do.
Right. Right.
Because if you're just playing it by the record and you're playing what these other guys are playing, I mean, there's skill in it for sure. 100%.
Yeah, of course.
But I think a good musician can hear what the other guy did and do it the same way but differently.
Yeah. You're understanding the concept.
Right.
You are learning the concept. You don't not necessarily learning. Like you're learning the part, but you're not just learning the part to learn the part. You're learning the part to get inside the song. Like obviously there's certain things in a song. If there's like a keyboard or a guitar hook in the turnaround that is like a signature thing. Yeah, you should learn that. Or like a signature fill going in, like coming out of the bridge or something. Yeah, then I better learn that note for note. But like,
right.
It's funny. I just had a conversation this morning with another drummer buddy of mine who was complaining about a certain bass player he plays with downtown, like, and how that bass player is like, hey, that's not the pattern. That's not the pattern. And he's like, I understand. And I'm sorry that I don't know the pattern, but like, this basically stating that like this bass player can't do anything outside of what he's memorized from the records. So like just that feeling of no one's listening to each other. They're all just playing what they're quote unquote supposed to be playing.
Right.
That doesn't work. And I mean, yeah, like you said, there are definitely gigs where the artist is going to be like, listen, I want you to learn the parts on the record. That's what I want you to play. And that's fine. That's its own skill. Like Ben does a lot of those Black Jacket Symphony gigs, and they're like a big cover band kind of here, like down in the southern region. And what they do is they'll pick like a certain record from an artist and they learn it like note for note, tone for tone. And the first set will be that entire record top to bottom. And then the second set will be the other hits from like that band. But they learn them all like note for note. And Ben has said like it's made me a better guitar player because I'm really digging in to those players and like getting inside their head. Right. And he's like, and it's really cool to really dissect like a solo note for note, exactly how they played it or whatever. So I think there's value in that, but like he's also an example of someone who he doesn't only, that's not the only thing he can do. Right. He has his own voice on the instrument. I think by getting into all those other players, it's probably helped make his voice even stronger. You know, I think that should be the ultimate goal from anyone is like, you never want to try and sound just like one player. I mean, no one can really do that anyway. You can get pretty close, but like what's really fun is like I'm influenced by like these 7 players. What do I take from each one to make my voice? You know, like maybe this one thing I do sounds like this guy, but like this, I really like to sing that this guy does or how he makes this feel, you know, that's like the thing I like about David is he's never once really told us got to play the part exactly like the record. And the fun thing for me is he's had a lot of great drummers on his records. Like his first record is all, I think it's Near Z and maybe Fred Eltringham. I think those 2 guys are on the first 2 records. Then the third record is Chris McHugh and Matt Chamberlain. Oh, wow. And then the fourth major record that he did is, I think, just mostly McHugh. But like those 4 players couldn't be any different from each other. Right. So the fun thing that I like is like, how do I make my gear work for this like in different time periods, you know, and all these different drummers, they're playing different stuff. So how do I find one thing where I'm not switching out a bunch of stuff every song that covers all that? And how do I play like me, but also sound like these other guys on these, you know, because I'm never going to sound like 5 different drummers. Right. But I can only play the songs like me, but I take certain things that each one of those guys does, and that kind of shapes my approach. And then the really cool thing is like getting to record with him then on the last 2 EPs, I can hear some things that I've taken from, like when we were working on this song called Raising You, I was like, man, I wonder, like, how would McHugh play this? So that's kind of where I started my approach. But by the end, I was like, I bet you like Matt Chamberlain or Fred Eltringham would probably maybe do something like this. So then it kind of became like, oh, well, that's my voice on that track. Do you know what I mean? Right. Because I've been so influenced by those guys the last 8 years without really thinking about it. Right. Oh, man. It's cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, one of the other things was like I switched Bill over to a Helix, right? And so
get him away from an amplifier. And so he really likes my tone on my Helix and my stuff. And I would have to say my tone is very modern. Like it's today's type of guitar. But it's not fixed, right?
Yeah.
I can easily maneuver around for whatever the song kind of needs. If it needs to be jingly jangly, no compression, and very much straight from an amplifier, I know how to approach my instrument to make that sound right.
Yeah.
If it needs to be more of a compressed chicken picking thing, I know how to approach my instrument to make it work on that signal chain.
Yeah.
Needs to be more rock and roll blues. I know how to approach my instrument. It's just varying, right? And one of the things, like there's a few things that people say that really get under my skin. There's a few things.
Okay.
Like immediately I have, if somebody says this in proper context in a conversation, it takes everything from me not to just walk away, because I immediately am turned off by whoever just said it, and I don't really have any use to listen to any more words coming out of their mouth. One is, now sometimes this is appropriate in particular situations, but if they call me or someone else that does not deserve this particular title, I've been somebody said, yeah, Ryan, he's a sound man. I'm not a sound man.
Okay.
Like that's a guy that has like a 1965 Soundcraft board that's 8-channel.
Right.
Or a powered head with, 8-band EQ, and he fiddles around.
You got one of them powered PV boards?
Yeah. And a couple SB2s, and can plug a radio into it. Like, okay, it's a sound man.
Yeah.
Like you guys had a sound man on this run, right? That was a sound man.
It's kind of how it felt.
That's a sound man. Okay. That's first. It just irks me. Like, no, I'm an engineer, because I have a much deeper understanding,
right,
of how the signal chain is and how it works and functions, and I can come up with out of the box ways of wiring things,
right,
because I understand this stuff, because I can engineer it.
Right.
Okay. That's one.
Okay.
The second one is this one I really don't like.
I can't wait.
Higby did this a few times, and I asked him to stop. But he would introduce Mark on guitar.
Okay.
And he would, and a lot of people do this. You probably hear this a lot. Over here on the lead guitar. and my reply has always been this. What is that?
Right.
What is a lead guitar?
Well,
is that different than an electric guitar?
I think he's mispronouncing it. It's lead guitar.
It's like, so when I go to the store to get one of them, do I ask them for a lead? I'm looking for a lead guitar.
Right. Yeah.
Oh God, that pisses me off. It's like, I do not like being called a lead guitar player. Number one, it's lead guitar. The idea, okay. What is the idea of a lead guitar? Where did that even come? Lead guitar, well, they play the leads. Well, what's a lead? I mean, I get it. It's a solo.
Yeah.
It's the guy that plays the melodies.
It's not the rhythm guitar player.
Correct.
Yeah.
But I take almost more pride in my ability to play good, effective rhythm or textural
As you should.
parts and components to songs than I do playing solos.
Yeah.
Solos.
Yeah.
Not leads.
Right.
Solos.
Yeah.
And the other thing is Mark is he's actually more, and I, the same, more of a rhythm guitar player on an electric guitar than I am a solo guitar player on an electric guitar.
Right.
So is Peter. So is Ben.
Yeah.
We play way more rhythm.
Of course.
But we're not rhythm guitar players, but we are electric guitar players. Right. On electric guitar, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
On electric guitar, on bass guitar, not on lead bass.
Yeah. On lead drums. Yeah.
On lead drums.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And like that goes back to the whole thing of I find that like if I'm going to use that term, the lead guitar players that I like are all they're all really good at playing rhythm. It's like that. It's the whole headroom thing. Like, yeah, you should work on like your quote unquote solo chops and all that shit. But like, because you can do all that other stuff, it makes playing rhythm guitar better and easier, you know, like,
right.
And man, there's nothing as a drummer, there's nothing I love more than like a guitar player who's like, has a really good understanding of like pocket.
Oh,
and
man.
feel like it makes it easier. Like when you have a guitar player that's really good at that and a bass player and a drummer, that's a good rhythm section.
Yeah.
You know, like
that's why me, Ramiro and you, or me, Ramiro and Ringer were.
Yeah.
It was just really, really easy to play a thing and just have that thing just
and
go.
You know, yeah, like when everyone is good at that and is like they take pride and enjoy being good at that, you can just sit on that thing forever and no one has to play anything else.
That's absolutely right, because it feels great and it's easy to play, and you find yourself whittling back parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? You're like, okay, now I can take this out because dude over here's covering that.
Right. Like maybe at first I was playing like a tick, 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 tick on the hi-hat, but if the guitar player or like if the bass player is kind of like ghosting some of those 16th notes in between their notes, well, maybe I'm going to take that away and I'm just going to play eighth notes because it's going to get too cluttered and I don't need to do it because they're keeping that kind of like
the pulse.
That shaker subdivision thing happening, but maybe it's hipper on there, you know, like.
Right. That's why I love like the momentum shifts. I love that. Like my big thing is I love the helicopter sound. If I can apply that to anything, I'm going immediately to that.
Yeah.
You know, and I find something that it will land through the progression and I'll hang on it.
Yeah.
And everybody plays around that part. And usually that will happen either on the guitar part or the bass part.
Yeah. It's like, you just made me think of, you know that Stevie Nicks song, Edge of 17? Digga, just like the white wind. Yeah. Sounds like she's singing. But like, it's got that guitar part like the whole way through, basically.
Yeah. And the drums are not having to mess with that.
The only thing that's weird about that song is those kick drums, like the hi-hat is playing, but the kick is like, and everybody thinks it's on beat 2 and 4, but it's not. It's on 1 and 4.
Oh,
so
it's pushing the whole time.
It gets really hairy. I think that's how it is.
Oh, I think you're right, man. Because it does. It push. It
gets really hairy until like the whole thing kicks in. So everyone's got it. Like if someone has not played that song before, it can be weird. You have to be like, no. That's not where the time is. That's not where beat 1 is. It's here. It just
feels like it's here.
So Jimmy Paxson, who is a drummer in LA, but he had the Stevie Nicks gig for a long time, and I remember him saying one time like that was always the hardest song to play. live. He's like, not because it's hard, but because being in an arena full of people and everyone in the crowd starts clapping with the kick drum as if it's 2 and 4. He's like,
boy.
so you really had to like mentally focus and keep your wits about you and know where 1 was, because the quote unquote common folk, they don't know. And the way they started that song would just be like, just him at the top, like, but if you have no other point of reference,
right.
Yeah, you're going to start to think like, oh, he's either playing 1 and 3 or 2 and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone's just clapping, but they're all clapping on and. But they don't know that.
Right.
You know, like, dude, we ought to do a podcast sometime on deceptive song intros.
Yeah, another one I'm thinking of immediately is what everybody is think. I know it's what you're thinking.
Wonder. Is it the Eagles?
No, it's Zeppelin.
Oh, rock and roll.
Yes.
Yeah. You know what that intro actually? Everybody thinks it starts on beat 1.
No, it starts. I used to know this. I still do, but I used to too.
Do you?
Isn't it beat 3? 2.
It is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and.
That's right.
The first accent is on the and of 3, so it's 1, 2, 3. But everyone wants to just go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, that's not.
But that's not what it is. The one that throws me, that I can't wrap my head around, and even though I know it, I cannot wrap my head around it, is Take It Easy by the Eagles.
Oh, the top.
That acoustic part. All that shit is pushed. But it's all pushed, but it sounds like downbeats.
Yeah, it does.
It is so whack. Well, anytime I play that song downtown, I insist that I count us in, because first I say, do you play this right? And if the guitar, because some guitar players don't, they just play it as if it's downbeat, which that's fine too. I don't care. Right. But I say, are you going to play this the real way? And if they say, yeah, I'm like, okay, then I'm going to count it in, because I can't hear it if I don't establish where 1 is. I just can't.
Really?
I've listened to that song, just those first 4 bars or whatever, so many times, and it's impossible. There's a live version that makes it a little easier, because you can hear the drummer playing hi-hat
right
on 2 and 4. I don't even think it's an Eagles version. I think it's just Don Henley. Maybe it is Eagle. Either way, you can hear the drummer playing hi-hat on 2 and 4. But yeah, that to not have any point of reference, another one that used to throw me off, but it's only been in the last couple years that I can hear it properly now.
Which one?
Is Misty Mountain Hop by Led Zeppelin.
I don't know that song.
It starts with like a Rhodes part. Is it Rhodes? Maybe it's like organ. I don't remember. But it's like, it sounds like 1, 2, 3, 4, ba 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 ba. But that's not what it is.
Oh, I do know this song.
It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, ba 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 ba. But like,
so for the long,
it's it's pushed. But for the longest time, I heard it wrong, but could play it right, if that makes sense.
Like, cow.
I could hear the intro incorrectly. I could hear it as downbeats, but I could play the fill properly wrong and come in with it, and then just turn it around in my head, and then
what you got into.
Yeah. It used to drive me nuts. It wasn't until I started running so much, that song would be on my running playlist. And once I knew it was coming up, like, okay, I know the next song is Misty Mountain, my brain would be ready to hear it. Like, but for a long time, if I just heard that song and I was caught off guard, I could only hear it the wrong way. And it used to drive me nuts.
That is so funny. That's kind of like these images, these illusion images, where you see something spinning one direction, and then you kind of blink or whatever, and you look back and it's turning, and now it's going the other way.
Or like, those pictures where it's like, what do you see? Like the duck, or like the young girl, or the old woman, or the duck or the rabbit.
Right.
And you see one, and like someone else will see the other. And no matter what you do,
You
in that
can't
moment, like
see
you
the-
can't unsee the thing you see.
Right.
But if you come back to it a few days later,
It's all of a sudden bang. Oh,
maybe then you, or if the other person that sees the other thing actually will go, like
Oh, yeah,
shows
they
you on the
point
picture,
out,
like
like, a feature.
no, see this, and they trace it, then you're like, oh, now I see it. But until somebody does that, like you can only see the thing you see.
It is so wild, isn't it?
It's weird.
Okay, so my third pet peeve,
Yeah, let's hear it.
my final one,
Okay.
is tone. It's my tone. Go F yourself. It's my tone. It's my signature. That's my signature tone. Like, I'm gonna pick on Bill because he's the closest thing I got right now. Because
Does he listen to this podcast?
I don't know if he does, but his thing was, we were working on these sounds for him through his Helix or whatever, and he really liked mine, and he went out with it, and it didn't suit him, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, okay, that's fine. And he's like, it's just not my tone. People are just used to immediately when that phrase came out of his mouth, I was like, nope. Sorry, buddy. No. Yeah. Because what you said is exactly what it is. You're practicing and you're rehearsing these things on your own, and you're learning these particular parts from what other people played, and then you interpret them, and then you wind up taking a flavor of that thing you've learned, and you then compile it and put it in a different package in something else. And you go, oh man, that's because I've had that happen on sessions with you, with my brother, where I'll play something on a rezo or play something on guitar, and it has this one little tiny note that sounds, it sounds like a Mike Johnson thing, or that sounds like a Danny Parks thing,
right?
Or, and it's just one note out of many,
Yeah.
But it's those little takeaways, and that is your voice,
right?
That is what it is, and so that's what I've been like stressing, on to Bill is, you feel like you've plateaued in a rut because you're playing what you know. All right, we're going to pause this one right here and conclude or end part 2 of Stitch and Bitch. I told you, it's long-winded. Lots of things that were running through our heads. We tend to bird walk a little bit, but, that's just what this is about. All right, so part 3 will be next on the queue, and till then, it's been Good Share Podcast. Hey, thanks for listening or watching the Good Share Podcast. Hey, Ice, tell them what they can do.
Well, if you're enjoying the show, please take a minute and like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And don't forget to ring that bell so you never miss an episode.
That's right. And if you want to know more, go to the GoodSharePodcast.com.
Say hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim!